take this report with a grain of salt. So there was a report from the Hoops Wire that the Pistons have interest in Ty Jerome from Cleveland. Now, if you watch the playoffs, that man cost himself so much money. Let's just play hypothetical. Let's say Dennis Schroder wants to leave. Do you think a Ty Jerome could be an option for the Pistons at backup point guard?
Maybe. I don't know how much damage control had to be done, because I think he was one of those names that wasn't super fond of JB Bickerstaff, if I'm not mistaken. I wouldn't love it. I do think they're going to have to address that, because, again, I'm not sure what the future holds with Marcus Sasser as their backup point. I think they can do a little bit better, and I just don't think his skill set kind of suits them best as their backup point guard, unfortunately. Jerome is okay. He's not a bad player. He can shoot. Obviously he's, familiar with the division and whatnot, and he didn't play great in the playoffs. I don't know. I wouldn't love it. And I feel like, unfortunately, these are the kind of names very similar to the veterans we've been talking about, guys that kind of tanked off in the playoffs, but then have a rebirth with a team like the Pistons who are trying to establish themselves. These are, unfortunately, these kind of names and teams that get matched together. So I wouldn't love it until he proves otherwise. And I think that's kind of what happened with Tim Hardaway Jr. when he got let go for Quentin Grimes. So I think this will be a similar situation. I wouldn't really be jumping up and down for this, as like the improvement to say, oh, this is going to really solidify that second year. Like, I don't see that. But who knows? Maybe he proves things wrong. Maybe he, gets on a hot heater and proves to be that shooter that the Pistons need or could use in their second lineup. But I don't know. I wasn't super high on it when I saw it. I kind of winced a little bit. It's like, can we stop getting away from, like, again, I understand reclamation projects are broken toys, but I feel like at this point, you can still find a little bit better than a guy like Ty Jerome. I think they can.
The only reason why I was looking at this report and I was like, Trajan said, like, takes two to tango, like, a lot in this presser. He's like, yeah, we like these guys, but, like, maybe they don't want to be here anymore.
Right.
That's where I'm like, maybe they're looking elsewhere. Maybe Tyus Jones is like, hey, I should have taken that money that you offered me last year. I mean, he's a free agent. Maybe that's the guy you look at. He had a miserable season in Phoenix, by the way.
Yeah.
But, like, I can kind of see the archetype that Trajan kind of covets as, like, a backup point guard. He's looking for someone that can score and facilitate. Ty Jerome can't do that. Me personally, give me TJ McConnell. The guy's a dog. Like, if he's available, like, I would love a TJ McConnell. But yeah, dude, he's been killing the Pistons since he was with Philly, man.
Yes.
Like, not even with the Pacers.
Yes.
It's funny.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind him at all. Like, that's a name I would like. Again, a steady, like, kind of veteran name. Again, that's why a guy like Schroder was so important, because he came off of, having that pedigree of understanding what playoff basketball meant, how to stay organized and, bring out the best of everybody else. I don't really know if Ty Jerome is the kind of player where he uplifts everybody else around him. McConnell does that very well. He's really good at seeing the floor. A very pesky defender. He does a really good job of igniting runs for his team. He fits Indiana perfectly, and I don't know if they really want to let somebody like him go, but I feel like that's the perfect kind of archetype guy. Like him and Schroder, like, kind of match the same kind of vibe in terms of a player that you would want off the bench as your backup point guard. And yeah, I don't know. I just don't see Ty Jerome being the name or the kind of player that fits what they need based on where they're at this point in their development.
Yeah, I think he resigns with Cleveland personally.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like. I saw the report. I was like, I don't really know about that. Someone mentioned, like, remember when he bashed JB? There was, like, a press conference of him kind of just, like, throwing shade at JB. For whatever reason, I don't even know what the context of that quote was, but I mean, that was his former coach, and he's kind of bashing him, but maybe he's a little salty. Who knows? Because he was injured when he was with JB Bickerstaff. So it's just a whole thing there. But, like, if you do lose Dennis, you have. I think there are some options. I just don't think that the Pistons like really want to go down that rabbit hole with another, backup point guard because he seemed like he fit like a glove, man. It seemed like he was playing with those guys for 10 years. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, yeah. He talked a lot about the chemistry he had with Beasley. Obviously the admiration he had for Cade. Playing really well in the fourth quarter lineups, closing games. Being a big reason why they were able to develop comebacks. And I think a lot of that kind of rubbed off on Marcus Sasser too when he started playing a little bit more towards the second half of the season. I think he learned a lot of the game from him, soaked up a lot from him. Which basically looked like it was just basically like go play your game and be who you are. He talked about that a lot in some of his pressers. I forgot what game it was. You're like 25, I think in a starting role. And they asked about that. He's like, yeah, like, what have you been soaking up in this time? He said, yeah, I just learned to play my game and not overthink so much. You could see a lot of that earlier this season, even going back to the summer league for Sasser, where he was kind of, struggling with playmaking and, getting guys in their right spots and understanding when to pass, understanding when to shoot. Like, when you have to think so much as a young guard, it can weigh in on you. And we saw a lot of that with Sasser's game. So, again, maybe he takes a jump and he can establish himself to be that guy. Again, I don't know if how they see him at this point. I do think there is value in his game. Maybe it may not be with the Pistons as his best suitability. But yeah, they got to find somebody that can help uplift everybody. And I don't know if like Sasser or Ty Jerome are those guys to do that right now.
Yeah, me either. I think Sasser's more of an off guard. I think me and you have kind of like agreed there in
Mm-hmm.
terms of like what the plan.